As a single professional, I had debt and no savings after my divorce. I always wonder how I can start investing in real estate to secure my future. I studied programs that gave me all the benefits of investing in real estate. Some claim I could start with no money, but I could not find one that gave me the practical, actionable steps I needed. As a wealth advisor, I've met people that own real estate but weren't ahead financially. They were rich, but they weren't wealthy. Then I finally realized that there was one vital component missing that makes someone become wealthy or not. And on this show, I will reveal what I found and give you the step-by-step actions to start investing in real estate and increase your wealth. My name is Araceli. Let's get started. Welcome everyone. This is Araceli, wealth advisor and real estate investor in the US and Canada. And today I have a good friend of mine, Lynda Davidson. She is an investor and she wants to tell us a little bit of her story. Lynda, can you tell us what you do and how you got yourself started in real estate investing?
Okay, well, thank you, Araceli, and thank you for having me here. And what I do is not so much wrapped around real estate. I'm helping entrepreneurs streamline how they run their business and feel more comfortable with all the tools they need to run their business so that they can focus on growing their business and sort of come from a long background in computing to do that. But real estate investing was something that my husband and I always wanted to do and just felt it was a very difficult barrier to get into. So we eventually broke that when our daughter was at university, and we found a place that looked like a good place that we'd be able to rent going forward after she had left. And got that now where she's moved on. She's over in Scotland actually finishing her studies somewhere else. And we're now renting out those rooms. So it's a little unique in that we don't rent it to a family, but.
Yeah, well, if you are close to a university, of course, because your daughter was going to university, it's another way to get income from a property. You don't have to just rent it to a family. But tell me more about, what was the biggest fear? I know that you had to wait a little bit longer to save for the down payment. So what was the biggest fear that didn't allow you to start real estate investing sooner than where you did it?
It was always that day-to-day expense, the cash flow, where are we going to get the down payment from? And just how can we leverage that? What can we do? And it was quite a bit later in life that we eventually just figured out how to get that down payment and just actually leveraged our credit line to get the down payment, which just seemed like such a crazy thing to do. But because our daughter was going to university, it just seemed like that seemed viable, where before there was a need for it, we had to pay rent for her anyways. So that was a way for us to mitigate her rent. And it just seemed like, well, we're going to take money out to do it anyways. Let's do it for this. And that was, I think, over 5 years ago. So we've kept the place well past when she was renting it.
Well, was a fantastic time to get started, because I remember my first property was in 2014. And 2 years later, I just couldn't buy another one like that. It was like unbelievable, the appreciation that we've seen. And my property is in Hamilton, which is kind of about the same distance from Mississauga. I'm in Mississauga. I know you're in Flamborough, but it's about the same distance away.
Yeah. And
those towns that they weren't close to Toronto, they didn't really appreciate that much. And I know that Hamilton, I've been in Hamilton for over 20 years, and it didn't see much appreciation. And the same in Guelph, like all of these little towns didn't really see much growth until pretty much the last 6 to 7 years, when everybody couldn't afford live in Toronto, so they started to move out into the outskirts and go to Hamilton, Guelph, and Kitchener, and all those places, right? So how do you find now, how do you feel that you got yourself into real estate investing? I know that you went in with fear, but after you did it, how do you feel now?
It is so nice to know that we have a place that we have more than doubled our investment. It's not paid off. So is it fully doubled? No, but the potential is there. But it's just so nice to know. It's also a lot of work because I do have to keep renting it out. And I do rent out rooms, which is, a little unusual because it's not right near the university. And so we're actually not renting to university students, believe it or not. We're two buses away, so they've got to go into downtown and then down. So they'd have to do a transfer. So it's great for mature students or young professionals who are just looking for a place to get started on their own. And so I'm very careful to get a mix of people that work together. And that's pretty tricky. It takes a lot of work to do the interviewing, but so that part of it is a little bit of work. But when you get good people in, it's great.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I always tell, when there is this big stories about bad tenants and they destroy your place, there is that. But when you look at the statistics, about 2% of renters are like that. The majority of renters right now, actually, they're getting better because what happens is, because it's so hard to get into the market and the down payment is farther and farther away from people, then if you're not a good renter, guess what? Eventually you're going to be kicked out, right? And now where are you going to live? So now people are actually behaving better because they want to continue to live there, right? And that is one of the things. But the upfront due diligence that you need to do with your tenants, it's very important. So absolutely. And remember, if you're an active investor, you're actually taking care of the property. But in general, you have had a good experience, isn't that right?
Yeah, and I also take care of my tenants. So I stay in touch with them all the time. I will send them a little gift card. I'll leave something there. I'll just send them a little note. We pop by every once in a while. We have access to the house because they rent rooms. So we just say, hey, we're going to be popping by, and we clean up some stuff that's there. Or, would you like to, how's this working out? Would you like this? Or, is everything working out okay? All those kinds of things keep them feeling like they're important and as though you are in touch with them and they're not completely on their own. So those sorts of things make a big difference with keeping that human touch and not separating. And I have had to deal with a couple of issues where the rest of the complex where we are, they started complaining about one of my tenants, and I didn't even know until police had been called in. And when I spoke to the tenant and the superintendent, it was all the other people. It was completely made up, and we had that brought to a halt. And I let him know, look, I know this is super uncomfortable. Thank you very much for having the conversation with me. Let me know if this ever happens again, because I can speak on your behalf.
Yeah.
To let you know that, this, to talk to them and find out what is happening. So people were making stuff up. And by getting the right information, it was completely cleared up. But then they had that trust in me, and they didn't feel like they were on their own dealing with it.
No, absolutely. I think that is probably the biggest issue with tenants is if you don't have good communication. I do have very good communication with my tenants as well. If they ask for anything, I'm always on top of it because, I want to make sure that they are comfortable, right? And then I go to the property, often enough to inspect it, to take a look at it and see what's going on, if there's anything weird, right? I also have my neighbors that they also look out for it, which is good. So I'm in touch with them as well. If there's anything, they tell me, there's something in your property. So then I get a chance to go. So yeah, as active investors, you always have to be on top of it. It's, even though you're getting passive income, but you still have to actively manage.
There's time involved in getting that income. Nothing is free.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it is rewarding, especially the way that properties are going up here, at least in Ontario, right? Because I deal with other towns as well in the US as well. And everything is going up in general, not just in Canada, but also in the US, which for the longest time we actually had a run that properties were really low in price, so you could get in and buy 2-3 properties at once. But now everything is appreciating quite a lot as well. But it's a little bit more reasonable to get in that market instead of the Toronto market, and I think it's going to continue to go up. And I'm really happy that you were able to go through that jump, because I think there's a lot of people that have the same fear, right? Like, how am I going to get this done? But when you get started, then it starts to happen. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to get in there. And once you're there, you just do what needs to be done, right? It's the same with anything, I think, that we get involved with. And then, we need to look at what's a good time to come out of it. But given where we are and where the economy is going, it makes so much sense just to stay in if we can maintain even revenue neutral, but obviously revenue positive would be fantastic. But even revenue neutral is not really neutral on the cash side, because there's the growth, there's the long-term equity, and things are getting tougher and tougher for people. So there's going to be people that are just desperate to find a place they can stay in that's nice and happy to pay something just because there's no way they can get in on the market.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, the problem with the renting, now it is getting so close to actually the price of a mortgage, right? So it makes more sense if you are able to find the down payment to get in the market. The other reason is that also landlords can just turn around and say, hey, listen, I need the place. I'm either going to sell it or I'm just going to use it myself. So you can't get away from being in total control if you don't own the property.
No, that's so true. That's so true. I feel like there is a division coming, and those that have and those that don't have, and anyone who can get in on it and stay in on it is just going to be better off.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So that is amazing. Well, I'm really glad that you were able to make it and share your story, because you know what, listeners want to know where everybody's coming from. And I know some people are more forward to say, yeah, I'm going to get into real estate investing. And actually, I just had an interview with another lady that she was very aggressive, her and her husband, buying properties in Mississauga. And actually, they had to go, they lost their houses because they over leveraged, they had too many of them, and they were waiting for permits. But then we see the other side that, you were very fearful to get into the market, but you eventually did it. And I always recommend people to make sure that they know themselves, what they want to do, and to go at the pace that is comfortable for them. Because otherwise it gets too much and it might not be safe, right? Even though in the GTA, we've basically seen really huge growth consistently, that doesn't mean that it's going to stop or something is going to go wrong that is going to wipe out pretty much either the equity, or maybe you have a bad tenant. I don't know. It could be something else.
Yeah. And we feel like we can leverage that place. If something went wrong, we have that to leverage. So we wouldn't leverage what we owe on that to get another place, because now you run into that whole cascade effect where it's not sustainable.
Yep.
So that's sort of the line we draw, is that if we lost something, we would only lose that.
Yeah.
Right? And it wouldn't cascade back down to our house.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to know exactly where you are financially. As you know, as a wealth advisor, I always encourage my clients to first of all know where they are, because it gives you the opportunity to know how far can you go with your leverage, with your investments, with anything that you are doing financially. And if you're not comfortable, then you have to stop, right? And just do whatever you can. But if you're able to do it, at least you have one property that somebody else is paying for.
Yeah.
That is fantastic, because then you have something that is growing and somebody's maintaining it on a regular basis, money-wise, right? Still, you take care of the day-to-day management of it.
We had to do a furnace fix last month, and now I have to get a new tenant this month because switch over. So I mean, there's always stuff to do. It takes part of my time. So my business is split between looking after that property and everything that goes with that, and running my business.
Oh, absolutely. So anybody that is doing active investment, they also have to take care of bringing some more money into the house. And Lynda is fantastic to help entrepreneurs, especially, to organize themselves. So one of the things that I know, because I'm an entrepreneur myself, is that entrepreneurs don't want to do the day-to-day organization. They want to just concentrate on doing the job and don't look at, okay, how am I going to organize myself? But at the same time, just like anything with finances, with your work, anything that you're doing, you need to be organized, because if you have kind of a process to follow, it's much easier. So that's what Lynda is very good at. So if you have an opportunity to connect with her, she's also a master in QuickBooks, and she will be able to help you. I know that for me, QuickBooks is a little bit difficult. So, and I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, it could be the same, but it is a really good tool that she will be able to help you. And all of her details would be below, so you can contact her. But if somebody wants to contact you, Lynda, how can they, what is the best way to reach you?
Email is fantastic. I am on LinkedIn and on Facebook, so you can find me under Lynda Davidson, and Lynda with a Y, because there's multiple spellings there. But yeah, that's honestly through email or LinkedIn or Facebook are great platforms.
Yeah, okay, well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming to the show, and I'm looking forward to hear more about your property in the next few months or in the future, that you can come back and tell us more.
Fantastic. And I have questions for you handling tenants in the States, because that's a whole different conversation.
Oh, that's a whole different conversation.
Exactly.
Believe me, it's a little bit different there, especially because the laws a little bit more lenient on the landlord side. But you still have to keep track of them. You still have to continuously be in touch with them. Communication is key, no matter where you are, anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah.
But they have there's a little bit different dynamic when it comes down to the U.S. Tenants. But the same, if you keep all your information and everything in writing, and you consistently monitor them, then you should have no problem, just like anywhere else. So
yeah, okay, well, it could be another conversation for another.
Absolutely, yeah, and we can have another show just about tenants. Thank you for giving me that idea. I'm going to put that into one of my shows. So
you're welcome, and thank you so much for having me, Araceli.
Thank you, Lynda. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
Alrighty, take care.
Thank you for being here on the show. Please remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified when there are more shows available. And if you would like to have more information on how to start investing in real estate, please visit my website at www.aracelihernandez.com. Thank you.